Justin, ABC News has obtained the death certificates of Hollywood actor, director Rob Reiner and his wife, producer Michelle Reiner. The couple was found dead nearly 2 weeks ago in their Brentwood home. According to the death certificates, the Reiners died minutes after they were stabbed multiple times, possibly by a knife. Their 32-year-old son, Nick, has been charged with their murders. The Reiners have been cremated since, and according to their death certificates.
Hey everyone, today we're doing a deep dive into a story that has honestly left Hollywood paralyzed. We usually come here to talk about box office or dating rumors, but what happened this past Sunday in Brentwood it's a Shakespearean tragedy in modern day Los Angeles. Before we get into the crime, you have to understand who we lost. Rob Reiner wasn't just some director, he was Hollywood royalty. His dad was Carl Reiner, literally one of the architects of American comedy. Rob became a household name as meathead on All in the Family, but then he went on one of the greatest directorial runs in history. I'm talking This Is Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, Misery, and A Few Good Men. And then there's Michelle Singer Reiner. They met on the set of When Harry Met Sally. Get this. The original ending of that movie was supposed to be Harry and Sally going their separate ways. But Rob met Michelle, fell head over heels in love, and was so happy that he changed the ending to the romantic one we all know today. They were married for 36 years. They were the golden couple of the West Side. To think that their story ended with a knife in their own home it's unthinkable. Let's break down the verifiable timeline. On Sunday, December 14th, 2025, at 3:30 p.m., the LA Fire Department responded to a medical aid call at the Reiner residence on South Chadbourne Avenue in Brentwood. Now, reports are coming in that their daughter, Romy, was the one who made the discovery. Can you even imagine? She reportedly went to check on them after they hadn't been heard from all day. When the paramedics arrived, they found Rob, who was 78, and Michelle, 68, both deceased from multiple stab wounds. The LAPD immediately classified it as a death investigation, but it was upgraded to a double homicide within hours. There was no forced entry, no sign of a robbery, it was internal. By 9:15 p.m. that same night, their 32-year-old son, Nick Reiner, was apprehended by police 14 miles away in the Exposition Park area near USC. He didn't resist. He was just there. Now, here is where the industry gossip starts to get really loud. The night before the murders, Saturday, December 13th, there was a massive holiday party at Conan O'Brien's house. Unverified insider scoop, multiple insiders, again, this is the gossip side of the chat, are saying that Rob and Michelle brought Nick to the party because they were afraid to leave him alone. People at the party are claiming Nick was acting extremely off. He was reportedly wandering through the crowd asking famous guests, "Do you know who I am? And is this real life?" The most prominent rumor is the Bill Hader interaction. Word is Nick tried to insert himself into a private conversation Hader was having. When he was brushed off, Nick allegedly snapped and had to be pulled away by his father. Witnesses claim there was a visible shouting match between Rob and Nick in the driveway as they left. If that's true, it means Rob and Michelle's final hours were spent trying to manage a crisis that eventually turned fatal. This is the part that breaks my heart. In 2016, Rob and Nick did something very few Hollywood families do. They made a movie about their trauma. It was called Being Charlie. It's semi-autobiographical. Nick co-wrote it based on his own struggle with heroin and being in and out of rehab 17 times by the age of 22. He spent years homeless in Maine, Texas, and New Jersey. In interviews for that movie, Rob said, "I'd rather have you alive and hating me than dead on the street." They used that movie as a bridge to heal. For a few years, it looked like it worked. Rob even told NPR just this past September that Nick was in a really good place. But looking back at the script of Being Charlie, it's a dark foreshadowing. The movie is all about a son feeling suffocated by his famous father's legacy. Nick once told the Dopey podcast that he used drugs to burn off his privilege because he hated being judged by his last name. Now let's talk about where we are today, Wednesday, December 17th. Nick Reiner has been officially charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder with special circumstances. Because it's a double murder, the district attorney Nathan Hochman has noted that this could legally carry the death penalty, though that's a long way off. Nick has hired Alan Jackson. If you're a true crime fan, you know that name. He's the guy who defended Harvey Weinstein and Karen Reed. Hiring a pit bull like Jackson tells us two things. There is a massive inheritance family estate involved that can fund this defense. They are almost certainly going to pivot to a mental health crisis or temporary insanity defense. Jackson told reporters that Nick couldn't appear in court yet for medical reasons. We don't know if that means he's detoxing, if he's on a psych hold, or if there were injuries during the struggle. But the fact that he was medically cleared just today suggests things are moving. So, what are we looking at here? Is this the story of a family that did everything right, the rehabs, the movies, the public support, and still couldn't beat the monster of addiction and mental illness? Or was there something darker simmering under the surface of the Reiner household? The comment sections are divided. Half the people are mourning a genius filmmaker. The other half are looking at Nick as a victim of a system that fails even the richest families. I want to hear from you. Do you think the Conan party incident was the final straw? And how do we separate the art of Rob Reiner from this horrific ending? Let's keep the conversation going below, but please, let's remember there are 3 other children in this family, Jake, Romy, and Tracy, who are living through a literal hell right now.
It's like I'm so broken, I'm so freaked out, like everyone, and that this happened.
In December 2025, Rob Reiner's final words about his own son sent shockwaves through Hollywood. "I'm petrified of my son." Less than 24 hours after speaking those words, Rob and his wife were found stabbed to death in their bedroom. Now, at 77, one of Rob Reiner's closest friends has finally spoken out.
He was just he's such a freaking great person. It's hard for me to even comprehend this stuff, but mental illness is a terrible thing.
Revealing what really pushed his son to the edge and why everything ended the way it did. The birth of a legendary friendship. Rob Reiner's life was filled with famous faces, but only a few friendships truly shaped him. Among them, none mattered more than his bond with Billy Crystal and longtime producer Barry Markowitz. These were not Hollywood friendships built on convenience. They were built on trust, loyalty, and decades of shared history. Rob met Billy Crystal in the mid-1970s on the set of All in the Family. Billy was young, nervous, and trying to find his place. Rob, already a star, treated him like an equal. That moment began a friendship that lasted more than 45 years. They supported each other through career highs and personal lows. Billy often said Rob wasn't just a collaborator, he was family. They laughed together, argued honestly, and leaned on each other when fame felt heavy. Billy later described Rob as the person who understood him without explanation. Barry Markowitz played a quieter but equally important role. As a producer and behind-the-scenes partner, Barry was Rob's stabilizer. He helped turn Rob's creative chaos into finished projects. When Rob doubted himself, Barry grounded him. When pressure from studios grew intense, Barry was the one reminding Rob why he started making films in the first place. Their partnership was built on mutual respect rather than ego. Together, Rob, Billy, and Barry formed a small inner circle that stayed intact even as Hollywood changed around them. They avoided gossip, protected each other's privacy, and kept their conversations real. While many relationships in the industry faded, theirs only grew stronger with time. Friends close to them say Rob trusted Billy with his emotions and Barry with his decisions. That balance kept him steady for years, which is why, when everything finally fell apart, it shocked those who knew him best. The man who always had his friends beside him was suddenly facing something none of them could fix. Behind the laughter and accolades, a darkness was quietly taking root within the Reiner family, one that would eventually shatter everything Rob had built. The son they never gave up on. Rob Reiner married Michelle Singer in 1989